I'm Roy Lee Lindsay with the North Carolina Pork Council, and I want everyone to remember, bacon makes everything better.
Hey folks, David Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network coming at you from ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. Our coverage, as always, sponsored by our friends at the North Carolina Pork Council. We have another new school, another new guy to introduce. Justin Wilcox is the head coach of the Cal Bears. He's in his 8th year leading that program. And of course, they're all new to the Atlantic Coast Conference. Coach's dad, Dave Wilcox, was an all-pro linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers and is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He also has an Uncle John who played in the NFL. His brother Josh was in the NFL. And Coach himself will be humble, but he did make all-conference as an Oregon Ducks player back in the day. Welcome to the ACC, Coach, and welcome to the North Carolina Sports Network. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's really good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Some real easy basics. We know you're Cal. We know you're the Bears. Are we allowed to say Cal Berkeley? Are there any?
You're allowed to say whatever you
Are
want.
there any don'ts like that? You've been here today and there's a lot of new people learning about you.
No.
And anything to avoid?
Yeah, we don't get offended that easily. So, the alumni, we refer to it, Cal football. That's kind of how we talk about ourselves, but you can call us any of the above. And
I love it. It's the easygoing West Coast philosophy that we hear about in California. One thing we do know, and we have schools like UVA and UNC that are often high in what they call the Director's Cup, the all-sports competition. I read that y'all are one of 5 schools with the most current, former, and incoming athletes at the Summer Olympic Games. What's it like to be on a campus where, of course, your job is to make football hum, but it just seems like there's a lot of walking excellence in Berkeley, California?
There are. You mentioned the Olympians. There's too many to list. Some decorated Olympians. There's Olympians on the campus now, so you could walk down to Haas or walk by the swimming pool, and there's people in there that are swimming and have won medals and gold medals in the Olympics, which is really, really cool. Again, our job is to make football go and perform at our best on the football field, but it's humbling to meet some of those coaches and athletes who are Olympic gold medalists.
You had a pretty cool press conference that I sat in on earlier just so I would be a little more prepared for our conversation. I'm not going to get into the dollar aspects of realignment because too many people could do that, but you brought up a great point where y'all at Cal essentially are using the largest airplane that Delta makes in anticipation of trips to Florida State, Auburn, Pitt, Wake Forest, and SMU. Just tell us, is this like a sci-fi airplane? Give us an idea of what your young men are dealing with that maybe helped with your trip here.
Well, our administrators were very supportive in understanding that these trips can be a little bit longer. We need to make sure that the guys have all the support they need from nutrition and academic support if we have to do some things on the road, and also just space to get some rest. And so they'll have the chance on those trips out and back to get some film study, extra film study, and or some school work done. But they were really supportive, and I don't know exactly what plane it is, but I know our administrative team and our DFO did a great job of securing those, and the guys will be comfortable.
What's a quick description? As you mentioned, you and some administrators are sitting in normal seats in the back.
Yeah.
What kind of little capsule could like a big lineman duck into to just make sure he gets rested?
Well, I'm not exactly sure the dimensions, and I'm sure they're, maybe not as comfortable for somebody 6'6" and 320, but it'll be better than sitting middle seat in coach, which they won't be doing. So we'll make sure that the players are most comfortable because they're the ones playing the game, and the rest of us can get our work done, and if we're a little uncomfortable, so be it.
We have a lot of new things in college football, from the expanded playoff to, in recent years, the transfer portal, name, image, likeness. Something that's brand new, you also mentioned earlier today, that the tablets on the sidelines and the headsets where you guys get to communicate with one guy on offense, one guy on defense. How are you preparing for that, and how do you think it's going to impact what we watch on Saturdays?
Yeah, we're preparing through practice. So we're going to use headset communication during practice. We're also going to use tablets during practice. I think the key is efficiency and how you communicate with the players. So, I think what we don't want to run into is just running commentary during the game with the coach and the quarterback, or the coach and the inside linebacker. And the same thing on the sideline. You got to be very efficient, get the point made, solve the problem, and then move on. And we don't need a bunch of kind of just fan talk to the quarterback or on the sideline. We need to solve problems. We got to coach them, and our coaches will do a phenomenal job of that, and our players will be plugged in.
I mentioned Dad Dave. Our condolences to you for losing him last year. Give us a sense, if you're willing to just go back to childhood, what was it about your upbringing or your dad that helped you learn about football or fall in love with football? Because I imagine you were around it all the time.
Not really.
No?
Yeah, he had retired, and I grew up on a farm, and I knew he played football. He was a very humble, soft-spoken man after his football career, and so we didn't really talk about it. I grew up in a very small town. I, like a lot of young people, just got involved in every sport, because that was the one thing. You either played sports or you worked on our farm, so you found a way to play every sport. So that was probably the best motivation I had. But I was very fortunate to grow up in a supportive home, and I miss my dad every day, but I appreciate him as much as ever.
And so he, having turned the page on football, really did you guys talk about sports much, or did he even talk about the values that he drew from sports, or did he just kind of leave you to your own?
Yeah, not really. It really was just, it was about work ethic and perseverance. You never quit. You weren't allowed to quit anything, but it was hard work. You showed up for practice. You were a good teammate, and you didn't quit. And so I think that's what he appreciated about football, but we did not grow up talking at the dinner table about defense or offense, and you did this. He wasn't our coach. He was just our father, and I appreciate that approach he took, because I see other sides of that from time to time, but it was never about him. Yeah, so I got older, and later in life he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, so I had a chance as an older person to watch him go through that, and that was really, really a special experience.
One of my favorite restaurants in Raleigh for many years now has been The Oak Scratch Kitchen and Bourbon Bar. It's located on Lake Boone Trail, which is a perfect location for a great meal and beverage if you're on your way to nearby Carter Finley Stadium, or perhaps PNC Arena for a concert, Wolfpack or Hurricanes game, or other event. The menu is incredibly tasty and creative. The atmosphere is a lot of fun. The bourbon options are as high-end and varied as you'll find anywhere. The staff is super classy and first-rate, and I've just always loved the people, the food, and the overall vibe there. When I took Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon to lunch, yes, meaning the billionaire who owns the hockey team, I took him to The Oak. Seriously, it's that good. Learn more or make a reservation by visiting their website, theoakraleigh.com. That's theoakraleigh.com.
Cal Bears head coach Justin Wilcox is joining us here on the North Carolina Sports Network. I mentioned your success as an athlete at Oregon. When did the light bulb come on that maybe you wanted to continue in the sport of football, specifically as a coach? Because at this point, you've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, I always loved the game and what it represents and the lessons you learn from football. Obviously, the X's and O's, we could sit and talk all day. I love that part of it, the chess match, so to speak. But really, the lessons you learn through football, I think, are very difficult to learn anywhere else. And I love the teamwork aspect. I had great coaches and mentors growing up in high school and in college. And I was able to get an opportunity to start as a grad assistant and really never look back, and have been so fortunate along the way to work for great people, be around the players. I learned just as much from players as I have from coaches, and I'm just very fortunate to have had the path that I've had.
During this 7+ now years as the Cal head coach, we've had a lot of changes, transfer portal, name, image, likeness, and a lot of other things. I noticed that you have, I believe the last number I saw was 25+ incoming transfers. Mm-hmm. I have a two-part question, and just go wherever you'd like with it. I would sense that the downside of recruiting transfers is you can't get to know them, their moms and dads, the way you can with some high school prospects. It's almost like speed dating, yes. Right? And not as much time to do it. But I see an upside, whereas I saw you recruited a junior college All-American, an Ivy League All-Conference guy, an FCS All-American. you're at least seeing them play with and against a higher caliber competition than maybe a high school guy out in the middle of nowhere. So with 25 plus transfers, I imagine you see the pluses outweigh the minuses of recruiting major college transfer.
I think you're right on it. Okay. I mean, you hit it. I think the time frame to get to know them is shorter. However, there's a number of guys that have joined our program who we recruited out of high school and knew, and then ended up coming back. We are still very much engaging in high school recruiting. We want to build and develop those guys, but if there's an opportunity to bring in a transfer who can make our team better, we feel like we have a really good grasp on who they are as a person, because you do get a much better evaluation because you've seen the tape, and maybe they're from FCS or Ivy League or the SEC or whatever. I mean, it can be from anywhere, but you get a better evaluation, and if they fit in physically as a player and then culturally, embodying what our team's about, it can be a great match, and we feel like we found a lot of those guys.
I'm getting that sign that I have to let you go soon, but I can't let you go without asking you this, and I hope that you'll visit with us again here across North Carolina in the future. But your undergrad degree was in anthropology, and I am just fascinated by the human condition and human cultures and human societies. Could you pick a couple of favorite things that you learned in your education at Oregon? Because you're dealing with human beings, 100 plus of them in the locker room. Did you immerse yourself in that topic, and did you take away a lot of lessons that help you as a coach?
Yes, to answer that question. And I had a phenomenal professor, Dr. Madonna Moss, and she was incredible. And she's really the reason I became an anthro major. And I did learn a lot. I think what I learned is there's just a lot of different ways that people interact and a lot of different ways societies interact. And, we do it our way here in the United States, and how we do things isn't necessarily how it's done throughout the world. And not for better or worse, but there's just different ways, and people are wired a little bit different. What they value is different. So I really appreciated that. I enjoyed it. I was thinking about maybe going to work maybe at Langley or one of those places when I was done, and ended up going into football, which I'm very fortunate that it went that direction. But yeah.
As we let you go, and thank you for your time, please tell me I'm the only one who asked about your anthropology degree today.
You are, and Dr. Moss would be very appreciative.
His name is Justin Wilcox. He's going into his 8th year as the head coach of the Cal Bears. Thank you for your time, Coach. Welcome to the ACC. We're glad you guys are a part of it.
Thank you. Go Bears.